Have you ever noticed something that just doesn't seem fair? Two people read the same book, they attend the same seminar, they hire the same coach, they listen to the same podcast, they receive the same advice. Yet 6 months later, one man's life is completely transformed. The other person is almost exactly where they started. Why? Was one person simply more talented, more disciplined, more motivated? I don't think so. After working with high capacity individuals for years, I've come to a very different conclusion. People don't improve at the speed of the information they receive. They improve at the speed of their internal alignment. That single realization changed the way I coach, the way I lead, and the way I understand human transformation. Today, I'm going to show you why some people change dramatically while others stay stuck. Why knowledge alone rarely creates lasting transformation, and the hidden factor that determines how quickly someone grows. And if you have ever wondered why you have worked so hard but still feel like you're moving in circles, this conversation may answer that question. So let us dive in. One of the biggest myths in personal development is this: if people knew better, they would do better. It sounds logical, but life tells a different story. Most people already know they should sleep more. They know they should exercise consistently. They should set boundaries. They should manage stress. They should spend time with family. Stop overthinking. The problem isn't information. It is integration. Think about Tony Stark. No one questioned his intelligence. He would invent technology that changed the world. But knowledge alone did not solve his anxiety, his fear, his identity struggles, his emotional instability. His greatest battles weren't intellectual, they were internal. That is why personal growth often stalls, because people keep adding knowledge while ignoring the system that must carry it. Information changes your mind. That is true. But integration changes your life. So why do some people improve surprisingly fast? Why? Because they stop trying to change isolated behaviors. They change the system producing those behaviors. Imagine updating the operating system on your phone. The app looks familiar, but everything works better because the system underneath has improved. That's exactly what happens when someone begins recalibrating the internal world. They don't simply become more productive, they become more coherent. They become more coherent. Their values align with their priorities. Their priorities align with their decisions. Their decisions align with their identity. Suddenly, behaviors that once required enormous effort begin happening naturally. People often mistake this for discipline. It isn't. It is alignment. High performers who improve quickly usually aren't pushing harder. They are experiencing less internal resistance. And that makes all the difference. Now, let's look at the other side. Why do intelligent, capable people remain stuck for years? Because they keep trying to solve external problems while ignoring internal conflict. Imagine trying to tune a piano by hitting the keys harder. No matter how much you force them, the music won't improve. The issue isn't effort. The issue is recalibration. Many people live this way. They increase accountability. They increase pressure. They increase productivity. They increase expectations. But they never stop to ask, what inside me is creating this pattern? What part of me wants growth? Yet another wants safety. One part wants achievement. Another wants rest. One part wants recognition. Another part wants peace. Until those competing forces become aligned, lasting improvement remains difficult. Not because the person lacks ability, because the internal system remains fragmented. This is where my internal coherence recalibration model becomes different from traditional personal development. Most approaches begin with behavior. I begin with coherence because behavior follows coherence, not the other way. Not the other way around. Think about Captain America. What made him such a trusted leader wasn't simply courage. It was consistency. Consistency in his beliefs, his values, his words, and his actions aligned. People trusted him because there was very little contradiction between who he was and how he lived. That is internal coherence. And when people begin living from that place, something remarkable happens. Decision fatigue decreases. Emotional stability increases. Confidence becomes quieter. Consistency becomes easier. Growth accelerates. Not because life became easier, no, because internal friction became smaller. The internal friction reduced. So how do people improve faster? Let me give you 3 principles. Principle 1, increase self-awareness before self-improvement. Most people rush toward changing behavior. The fastest learners first understand themselves. They ask, what is really driving this pattern? Awareness reveals the system. And you can't transform what you haven't understood. Principle 2, resolve internal conflict fast. Growth speeds up when internal competition decreases. Every unresolved emotional conflict, every conflicting priority, every hidden fear consumes energy. Removing friction often creates more progress than adding effort. Principle 3, practice continuous recalibration. Improvement isn't a one-time breakthrough. It's an ongoing process. Pilots constantly adjust their course. Athletes constantly refine technique. Musicians constantly tune their instruments. High performers continuously recalibrate the internal world because life naturally creates drift. The people who improve faster aren't perfect. No, they are not perfect. They are simply willing to recalibrate more often. That is what they are willing to do. Let me leave you with this. If you ever compared your journey to someone else's, please stop. Stop comparing your journey to another person, because transformation is not a race. It's a reflection of how aligned your internal system has become. Some people collect information for years. Others transform because they finally confront themselves honestly. The difference isn't intelligence. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is coherence. That is why I believe the greatest accelerator of growth isn't another book. It's not another course. It's not another productivity system. It is reducing the internal friction that has been slowing you down all along. Remember this. People don't improve because they know more. They improve because more of who they are begins working together. When your values support your priorities, when your priorities support your decisions, when your decisions support your identity, and when your emotions are processed instead of ignored, growth stops feeling like an uphill battle. It becomes the natural result of an integrated life. That is what I help my clients build. Not temporary motivation, not isolated habits, an internal system capable of sustaining extraordinary performance without sacrificing emotional stability. That is what I help them build. Because lasting transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that is preventing the real you from functioning as one integrated whole. If this video challenged your thinking, comment below with the word growth. And tell me, where is one area of your life where you have been adding more information when what you really need is greater alignment? And if you are ready to stop chasing more tactics and start transforming the system beneath your behavior, subscribe to the channel. Because the people who improve the fastest aren't the ones who learn the most. They are the ones who become the most internally coherent.